The Ten Commandments is a Paramount Pictures production of Cecil B. DeMille's Story of Moses, starring Charlton Heston, Yul Brynner, Ann Baxter, Deborah Paget, John Derrick, Edward G. Robinson, and it's awesome!
If there is one more plague on Egypt, it is by your word that God will bring it. And there shall be so great a cry throughout the land that you will surely let the people go.
Welcome to Reading Between the Lines, where I'll be doing classic movie reviews. This is our very first episode, and we're starting with a classic from 1956. It's The Ten Commandments.
Repent! Strike! Out of there!
Stone will break.
There are 2,000 slaves on the ropes.
Since this is our first episode, I want to remind our audience that there are going to be spoilers involved. We're going to be talking about the movie, and so therefore there's going to be some things that we're going to have to bring about in order for us to talk about certain subjects that we'd like to talk about the movie review that we're giving. So please be aware, there will be spoilers.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
The Ten Commandments was Cecil B. DeMille's last movie that he ever directed. It's basically a remake of his 1923 silent movie classic, The Ten Commandments. And this one comes with everything that you could possibly imagine. He throws everything at this movie but the kitchen sink. It's got it all. We're going to start with by talking about just the scope of the movie. The movie is just on a grand scale. It's a beautiful movie. Now, they filmed this movie in what they call the VistaVision, which was basically Paramount's version of CinemaScope. So you got that anamorphic lens that makes the wide shots really, really blow up. They look, bold, and you can see things a lot clearer. And also just the color, that beautiful color that you're going to see throughout the movie. There's just, the reds are red, the greens are greens, the blues are blues. I mean, just the visual aspect of the movie itself is beautiful to look at. Now, DeMille spent a lot of time in crafting this movie. He spent several years putting this movie together. And when you look at it, they tried to be as authentic as they could possibly be. So when you look at, for example, at the sets. When you look at the sets, you can see all the art decoration that goes into the sets. For example, you'll see images of Mott on the backgrounds, which is basically the god of justice. When you look at the costumes, for example, the detail of the costumes as far as like the crown of Pharaoh, which is the symbol of Upper and Lower Egypt. It even has the Uraeus, which is the protector symbol. All of these great detailed things that you can see throughout, that DeMille spent a lot of time making sure. So this movie, when you look at the costumes and the set design and everything else, it is magnificent. It is a beautiful, when I look at the movie and I see, a scene, I can stop pretty much anywhere in the movie and I've got a painting or I've got a photograph and I can stick there and stick it on my wall. It's just that beautiful, just the amount of time that is spent on the decoration of this movie. The movie was the biggest grossing movie of 1956, reeling in $122.7 million. By today's money, that's right at about a little over $1 billion. If you adjust for inflation, The Ten Commandments is one of the top 10 grossing movies of all time. The movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. It only took home 1 Oscar, and that was for visual effects for John P. Fulton. Now, by today's standard, those visual effects don't stand up as well as when we look at the things that we can do, especially with computer-generated effects and so forth and so on. But at the time, these were the state-of-the-art effects. And even when I watch the movie today, those effects still hold up for me. Some of them kind of looks a little cartoonish. For example, if you look at the Pillar of Fire, yeah, you can see it. But when you look at things like the water turning into blood scene, for example, when I watch Ramesses pour the water, where it just starts with water and then becomes blood, and then he drops the vase, and all of a sudden it's nothing but blood. That's a pretty good effect. And you take another effect, for example, the most famous effect, the most famous special effect probably ever, which is the parting of the Red Sea. That is a magnificent effect, and it still looks beautiful today.
God opens the sea with the blast of his nostrils.
In order to have an epic like the Ten Commandments, you have got to have good actors. And the acting in this movie is just outstanding. Charlton Heston as Moses, Yul Brynner as Ramesses, these guys going head to head, especially when you're talking about they're not probably at their prime of their acting careers. I mean, the amazing thing about Yul Brynner is that in 1956, this was one of his first 3 movies. I can't think of an actor that had a better opening movie career than Yul Brynner. In 1956, these are his first 3 movies. The Ten Commandments, where he plays Ramesses. Then he has The King and I, where he plays the King of Siam. And then in Anastasia, he plays the General Bunyan, who basically takes this woman and makes her Anastasia. It is the best 3 movies for an opening career that you could ever think of. Heston is magnificent. He does a great job of being the young prince, to becoming a shepherd, to becoming a prophet. And his, of course, not only is it his presence, it's his voice, it's his manner. He carries the movie. He is Moses. And I think when a lot of people, when they sit down and they think about Moses today, they often go back to that performance of Charlton Heston as Moses. One of the things about the acting that stands out for me is that how much we can like everybody. Because that's really, when you've got good acting and good writing, you like everybody. So even though Ramesses is the bad guy, you like Ramesses because Yul Brynner's playing it. And, you know, there's times that you can kind of root for him. You can understand why he does what he does. Okay? The same thing with Seti, who was his father. Seti, played by Sir Cedric Harwick, he plays it with such grace and humor. One of my favorite lines that he gives is when they're talking about not having enough grain.
Well, you know, crowns are sometimes lost by smiles and dimples.
And so is patience.
Yours? Are the plans for my jubilee complete?
All but your proclamation for the marriage of Prince Ramses to Nefertiti.
No.
Are you quite sure it'll be Ramses?
Who else could be your successor?
Moses, of course.
Because of Moses, there is no wheat in the temple granaries.
You don't look any leaner.
Ann Baxter is perfect. She plays the love triangle very well between the Moses character and the Ramesses character. She does a very good job of doing that. She plays the role of basically inciting extra obstacles that's going to come in the way.
I know you, my sweet. You're a sharp-clawed, treacherous little peacock. But you're food for the gods. And I'm going to have all of you.
None of me. Did you think my kiss was a promise of what you'll have? No, my pompous one. It was to let you know what you will not have. I could never love you.
Does that matter?
The reason why the Ten Commandments is our first episode for this series is because this is my all-time favorite movie. Not only that, we're right here at the beginning of April, and usually right around that Passover, Easter time, ABC starts to air this movie. And I can remember in our family, we would gather around every Sunday around 6 o'clock, and we would watch it all the way till it ended around 11 o'clock. And it was just 5 hours of fun. And considering how we're all having to kind of stay at home, with this coronavirus thing going on, I thought, well, what better movie than to start with than the Ten Commandments? This movie is brilliantly directed, brilliantly acted. It is a wonderful movie experience. It tells the story of Moses. It goes through that entire Exodus story. It is got a profound discussion about what it is to be free. And it is just one of those movies that just grips you from beginning to end. I can't think of a better movie to sit down with my family than to be watching the Ten Commandments. I know a lot of movie fans, they like to see what a rating for a movie is going to be on a score system. My score system is going to be from 0 to 100, and when it comes to the Ten Commandments, it scores a 100. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like what you've seen, please hit that subscribe button for some more classic movie reviews, as I've got some more coming on the way. Until then, this has been Reading Between the Lines.